All right, boys. I think we'll get started. So, yeah, big welcome once more to our Chroma Team Roundtable. I think this is the third we've done,
Yep.
possibly the third, number three. So, yeah, as you guys know, this is a weekly discussion where we try and just give some thoughts on the market, on some charts, kind of walk you through what we're looking at going into the rest of the week, and just give some general thoughts and outlooks on the coins on our watch lists, the famous coins on our watch lists. So I think, as with previous weeks, guys, please mute your mics if you're not talking. Dipta, please mute your mic. Um, the reason we're
Removing
doing it
it.
in voice chat is so that people can talk. I'm just gonna mute you, Dipta, because you're talking. Noise going through your mic.
This was the advantage of the other channel.
But I hate the other channel. I don't like it.
All right.
But yeah, the idea is the reason we're doing it in the voice chat channel and not on the stage channel is because I want to encourage everyone. If you guys have opinions, if you guys have thoughts, if you agree with us, if you disagree with us, whatever, please feel free to speak up. We had some great conversations in the last couple of streams, so I'm hoping that trend will continue. So with that in mind, we're gonna start with BTC. We'll kind of give some high time frame thoughts. I'm gonna run you through the chart that I posted in my channel earlier, which is basically just liquidity. You know, the saying that I posted in my channel, which is that if you can't find the liquidity, it probably means you are the liquidity. And Purdue alluded to it at the start of the stream, which is that it's quite hard to position here when there's been no real major sweeps. And I am much the same. I'm kind of waiting for something to happen like this, maybe would be, something maybe that we could short, or this would be, something maybe that we could long. But until that happens, I feel like it's hard to form a directional bias here. And it's hard to enter with any kind of conviction in size because you're just, well, for me especially, I know several other traders on the team are exactly like this, but I'm mostly a liquidity trader. So for me, I need to see liquidity getting taken. And I need to see, confirmation that price wants to start moving in the other direction. That's my bread and butter. That's how I trade reversals. So when we're getting this kind of inside day chop, it makes that a little bit difficult. Not that it's, it's not it's still clean price action potentially, but we just need to wait for this compression to expand, and either we'll get expansion and further expansion, or we'll get a fake out followed by a reversion, something like that. So that's kind of what I'm looking at. And if I bring you to my similar chart, this is like, it's a little bit busy. Hopefully you guys can see. This is the chart markup that I've been looking at for the last I don't know how long, several weeks at least, and this kind of shows you that we're still trading at what I consider range highs. We're still trading at for me, is where I am not longing anything. I'm not opening fresh longs here unless I see something I really like. This for me is the zone where it's really only shorts. Now that said, there's a ton of buy side liquidity building up here, so it's becoming one of those situations where I think shorting here without buy side liquidity getting swept is a dangerous prospect because you're really exposing yourself to a short squeeze. Shorts feel, anyone who has traded this market for any length of time will tell you that if there's a big short here in the next few days or next few weeks, that this would feel immensely more comfortable than trying to position here. And I'm not talking about a move, guys talking about 90K, 80K, whatever the fuck. I'm not even talking about that. My target has always been, Purdue's talking about 107K for sure. Yeah, this is definitely a target. This has kind of been my target for a while now. This like 105, 104K. I thought we would get it here for sure. In fact, that was what I was positioned for. Alas, it was not to be. We just fucking blew shorts out of the water there. But yeah, there's a high time frame imbalance here that hasn't been mitigated yet. There's a high time frame low here that's going to act as liquidity. And just the fact, I mean, just basic range principles here. We're trading at range high here. If I could just show you this chart. This is a little bit messy. Hopefully you guys see what this is and what this means. This is just a range, right? This is just a range. This is just a value area. This is value area high. This is kind of where you should be de-risking any longs and potentially looking for shorts, in my opinion, according to to the way I trade. And I've just written something up here. You know, is this going to be a failed auction or a successful auction? So far in this range, we've had only failed auctions, which is almost always the case until we get a range breakout or a range breakdown. And that's kind of the question we're asking ourselves now. I will say that the fact that we're holding above VAH here and kind of just putting in value, that doesn't look bad. It doesn't look bad for the bulls, but you know, we've had that once or twice before, so you know, kind of inconclusive at the moment. Jinx, please
No.
mute your mic.
No.
Yeah, so I'm
Fucking sit behind.
opening the floor to the rest of the
Sit
team.
behind
How are
my
you guys seeing BTC here?
Seriously? You took half the
Maybe Purdue, do you have any thoughts?
Jinx,
Huh?
Jinx, mute your mic, man.
I muted him already.
Oh fuck, I'm gonna mute him too.
That works,
Okay.
whatever.
Yeah, I have some thoughts. Let me grab the chart real quick. I actually have the same plan, and that is what scares me at the moment, to be honest, is that we're all looking at the same fucking grab of liquidity.
Yeah.
I think everyone is watching this range and not grabbing that liquidity like last night. I was really hoping to let me pop up my screen a bit to make it to visualize it.
I can't mute Jinx.
You can't?
Oh, it's not letting me for some reason. Oh, you muted him. Okay.
He's muted.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah. Yeah, this is basically my plan still. Either, and I think every trader I know is watching this at the moment, is that we either sweep all these lows one more time into that 106k area. It's just pure summer chop. And every year I tell myself, sell in May and walk away, and then you don't do it. And you get chopped to the tits in June and July. And that's exactly, especially also on Ethereum at the moment, is that you see that prolonged range basically. Yeah, it's a wide range we're working with at the moment. But actually it started since early May over here, when we saw that big impulse up into the above the 104k level. And since then, we're just basically range bound between 100k and 110k. And yeah, it has been scalper's paradise, and I call this always the bouncing ball effect. Once you break above that 100k level, you get really nice volatility, both on altcoins and on BTC to work with. But every time the volatility dries up more and more and more and more until you get this prolonged chop where we're in at the moment, you know? And now the ball isn't bouncing anymore, and everyone is begging for volatility, while everyone was so fearful, and it was like, oh shit, trade fears and blah blah. Well, actually this was the period to have the best trades, you know? When we saw that fear and we saw that euphoria, that's basically the best time to get involved in the markets, because you have volatility to work with. And now we don't have anything to work with. And I think that's more horrendous than really big volatility, which we saw last month and the month before. But yeah, intraday, I'm just watching these two levels. Above 110k, I might short here. 110, 111, something like that over here. And below 107, I wanna long basically. So yeah, that's my plan for today, and for the rest of this week basically. I think
it's
we get it
Bitcoin.
somewhere this week. So,
No, it's Bitcoin.
yeah, that's
Purdue
Bitcoin.
shorting. It's truly so over.
Yeah, I haven't been shorting in a while, indeed, but
I know,
can do
yeah.
it.
That would be pretty big confidence for me, not gonna lie, because you've been so vocally bullish, and you've played it to perfection. I think the last couple of weeks, because you've basically been bullish when we've been at range high, and I've been advising to risk off. But actually, BTC has given like a decent chunk more upside since then, and also
Yeah.
given quite a bit more upside, Ethereum in particular.
Yeah, this one was really nice over here, that 105k level.
Yeah,
I was so confident in that level, so I had a really good trade there. But I have the same now for that 106k level. This will be my final bid to long, But if we roll over here and we start closing back below, then I think it's truly over for now. Because we're building value over here, like you always say that, into this range. And basically, if we lose this over here, then I think it's an easy short back to 102k to fill all this over here. And the same with to the upside. And that's why I want to try that short into the 111, 112, because I think it's the best short you can get outside of the value before we really break out into the 120, 124k area, you know? So yeah, once we start really fading, once we start trading at the extremities of this range, I think you can get a nice long or you can get a nice short going.
Good question here from Aquathon. Purdue, what made you so confident in that 105k level? Because lower seemed to make sense for many, and I include myself in that.
Yeah, it's pretty easy actually. I can pull out the. I had it. Let me check where the chart is.
Can I also say I love how descriptive your alerts are?
Yeah, it's very soothing. That 105k area, I have it on my X, to be honest. I think it was a combination between a fib level, a double trend line retest, and also a bounce of the RSI 50 level on the 12 hour. That was basically the trade I gave. I had it mapped out since late June, and it worked out. Let me, here I have it, sorry. Yeah,
I just shared
this
it
one.
in the voice chat.
Yeah, oh yeah, over there, yeah. And I laid out the plan late June, and I was hoping to get it late June, but we got it early July, but the confluence was still there. And it's basically the system I've been using all the time. It's a combination of Fibonacci. Double trend line is always really nice, super nice to have. A retest of the 12-hour RSI 50 level, and I think there was a daily EMA 13 at that 105.3 back then. So yeah, that was the confluence I needed to get that trade, and also really tight invalidation. So yeah, it was a nice one.
Yeah,
Give me just one of these this week, and we're good to go.
I could definitely see that long playing out. I mean, if BTC is going to follow equities like many assume that it will, or many are hoping that it will, yeah, I think a shallow sweep like that just to take those equal lows makes a ton of sense. But let's see. I still can't kind of escape the fact that we are trading into range high resistance, which for me is just makes me so, I feel just so sweaty being in any kind of long position. It just doesn't feel right.
Yeah, I can imagine. What's your thought like for July and August going forward?
Just chop,
What's
man.
your-
I mean, you hit the nail on the head there. Like I think people are trying to position themselves for big moves and failing to realize that, you know, if you look back on like the last 4 years of crypto, I think there's only been 1 year where we got kind of like decent volatility in the summer. I think it was 2022. If you look at like 2021, if you look at 2023, if you look at 2024, it's just choppy summer price action, loads of inside days, no real sweeps, nothing like actionable really, just a lot of chop, a lot of range bound price action. And then the big move when it came, I think 2 out of those 3 years the big move came in October, November, and 1 year it came slightly earlier. I think it came in like August, September. So it's like, I mean, that just kind of indicates to me that, you know, that summers are summers, right? Where it's like there's less institutional involvement. There's less volume. The order books are thinner. People are trading less. People are on holidays, etc. So I don't know. I think people are trying to position. I see so many guys on Twitter trying to position for this big move, this all-time high run, and for sure I can see it. I could see it happening. But I just don't know. Do we have the liquidity? Do we have the demand for BTC to send that high in fucking July? Like it just doesn't seem like the right time. I would say that if we do get a big move, and I'm like, this is just, you know, strong opinions loosely held. Let me qualify everything that I say on these voice chats with that. It's like I'm just basing this on the information we have to hand right now. I could be proven wrong tomorrow, and I'll very happily change my bias. But my bias at the moment is that you're probably better off waiting for a month where traditionally we get more volatile price action. Not to say that we don't have trades, in July, August, but I just think that the trades are going to be more kind of low time frame intraday scalp heavy trades, mean reversion trades, get in, get out, make your money, move on to the next setup type trades, rather than this big. I saw some big accounts like swing longing here with their invalidation as like 105K and they're targeting like 140K, and I was like, yeah, I don't know. That just smacks like that just seems to me like it's a September trade, not a July trade. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah.
I saw Jonesy in here. Jonesy, what's your take on the market, on BTC in particular?
Yeah. So, I mean, I did a post in my channel earlier this morning, but I can quickly share my chart and just kind of talk through it. So, during charting class last weekend, we kind of talked about the liquidity down here that you're kind of looking at, the daily fair value gap, that ice line around 104,600. For me, also, we now have equal lows that we formed yesterday. However, we're kind of just chopping around this ice line here at 108,300. And TDO is well below 2 TWO. So in order for us to really, I think, like shift bearish in the midterm, I would need to see a loss of both levels, potentially like a bearish retest later of them, either tomorrow or Thursday. But I think more likely now is probably like a bit more chop and consolidation here, eventually see a reclaim, probably push higher into the later half of the week, and then maybe take these highs up here or leave them for later. I don't know. I'm still looking for downside. As you guys have been talking about, I think it's going to be like kind of very rangy PA. You'll see some like kind of quick moves, but then otherwise just sideways. So I think like the rest of this week, I'd like to see some kind of like chop and upside. Definitely have adjusted taking profit to like low hanging fruit and focusing on kind of like quick in and outs versus aiming for maybe the more extreme targets I used to go for in trending environments. But yeah, I would like to see lower. We haven't really seen below the monthly open besides last week down here. So would like to see more of a pronounced monthly low form, potentially down in the 103 area for.
Nice. And like, how are you? Have you had to? I know, like you hit a banger trade earlier today, which is congrats on that. It was really nice, really nicely done. Like, have you had to adapt your trading at all, or have you had to change kind of the way you're looking for things? Because I know there's just been a lot of chop, and it's quite hard to find those big banger high or trades that you're so good for.
Yeah, totally. I think like for me, what kind of almost, I mean, there was a combination of stuff when I started that challenge account between like kind of conditions changing as well as just like the way we are setting up for the end of Q2 going into Q3. So yeah, I've definitely now taking a more conservative profit taking approach. Like a lot of the scalps I was taking this morning, I had the 2 longs and then I just got stopped at a 1 a little bit ago. But the 2 that hit this morning were both like just targeting either liquidity or front running it. Like I think the first short I had targeted was like the micro session open, and that I ended up cutting once I saw weakness at like a key level, which was the right call, as it would have reversed there. And then the other one was kind of like I saw strength coming in. I had the liquidity above that I had kind of mapped out prior to the session, and I just executed on that. So I think like, yeah, focusing on the more immediate liquidity than necessarily like the bigger home runs is, I think, going to be the key for survival this summer until we see some more stronger moves, I should say. Not necessarily less volatile. I think we're definitely getting some nice like kind of whipsaw PA, so you can definitely capitalize on that if you're using the right levels. But I think until we see some more serious expansion, it's best to just focus on the immediate liquidity targets.
Yeah, completely agree. And I've had to do the same, to be honest. I've had to be far more, I would say, aggressive with my TPs, far more conservative with lofty price targets. Osbra in the chat. First of all, big welcome to the team. This is your first official outing on the Chroma live stream. But that'll all come in time. But for now, we're gonna put you on the spot and just ask you whether you have any interesting takes on BTC, on the crypto market going into July, Q3, and the rest of 2025.
Yeah, sure. Allow me to share my screen real quick. First of all, technically, obviously, you guys mentioned it. We are we are at resistance right now. You can clearly see we have the value area high, which is just here, the black line. We also have a nice supply around here. All right, that led to the huge push to the downside. So for sure, you don't want to, at least personally, I don't want to get caught in a FOMO longing here, whatever happens. Nonetheless, I'm not really looking for shorts because of this right here. All right, we have liquidity above. I think you mentioned it many times for this. So until we grab the liquidity, we fail here. But until we grab the liquidity here, then I'm not really looking for shorts. I'm mostly looking for longs because the risk reward might be a bit more interesting if we get this, for example, like if we fill the gap just here, or even if we fill that one just here. We have a big one right here. All right, we also have the value area low as confluence. So it would be a very, very interesting level to go long in my opinion. So this is 103,000. Also, why I'm leaning bullish because, well, I posted it on Twitter, but BTC is close to all-time high. Equities are at all-time high as well, like indices, S&P, Nasdaq. This is, like for me, this is a bullish signal. Also, talking about seasonality, July is usually a good month for equities. So I will take that on the bull side. Now I think it just misses something. It's a catalyst, a fundamental catalyst to ignite the market to the upside. And I think it will come as usual from the Trump administration. We're talking obviously about the trade deals. So I think you guys should take a look at what's gonna come from Japan, Europe, and India as well. It's going to be very important, and I think they're going to have deals. I think the US are going to have deals with Japan, Europe, and India. Otherwise, I don't see any reason. They extended the tariff pause until August. Implicitly, they didn't really say, "Oh, we officially announced that we extend the pause." But if you extend the pause, it's because you want to reach deals. So I don't see any reason not to have deals. I don't think India has anything to counterweight the USA, so I think we're gonna have a deal. Europe is a bit tough, and even though Trump is threatening Japan, I think we're gonna have a deal as well because Japan is like holding like a shocking amount of US debt. And if you guys are interested in the geopolitics and stuff, Trump wants the yields to go low. All right, so the yields are here. All right, to apply his fiscal policy to reduce the taxes and stuff, he needs the rates to be very low. And if Japan, that is one of the biggest holder of US debt, decides to dump it, then obviously it will go against Trump. So I think they have this power to counterweight the Trump administration regarding the tariff, and I think we're gonna have an agreement soon. If there is a problem, I think it might come also from Japan. Why? I'm gonna explain. Simply because the BOJ is going to have like a monetary policy statement at the end of the month, and if you guys have been in the market long enough, you remember what happened in August 2024 with the carry trade and wind. If we look, it was in August, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, here. You guys remember? Just here. So because of the yen carry trade and winding, and so the BOJ has also the power to decide to increase the rates at the end of the month. And considering it's this month that the negotiations will happen, they also have this power. So I definitely think they're going to reach deal, and it could be a catalyst for bullish momentum for the month of July, maybe going into August. And then September, we'll have a follow-up with the Fed, potentially, cutting the rates, starting to cut rates. As I said as well on Twitter, if you're expecting rates to be cut on July, I think you're a bit delusional. Not going to happen considering the tariff negotiations, but also the latest inflation reports. So all eyes on September. So if we get good fundamentals regarding the tariff, the trade war, and then the Fed following up with a rate cut, as 62% participants are expecting, like probabilities are quite high, then I think we'll have a bullish Q3, Q4. Yeah. So that's my take. A bit of fundamentals because you guys killed it with the technical analysis. But yeah, to sum up, no long around here, guys. Definitely not. Could make sense to go short, but personally, I will avoid because the risk reward is not really interesting. And for the reason that I explained, I think we're gonna have like a bullish end of July. That's my
Yeah,
take
100%.
on BTC.
That's amazing, man. Yeah, thanks so much for that. And you touched on fundamentals and technicals, and that actually leads me really nicely onto my next question, which is how are you finding balancing those two analytical disciplines, I suppose, over the last few months? Because I know that I've had to adjust my trading style to account for things like headline risk, news headlines coming out of the Oval Office, coming out of America, coming out of the Middle East. It makes it quite difficult sometimes to I would suppose to adopt, but also to maintain a positional bias because you're never sure day to day what you're going to get and how it's going to affect the price action in front of you. I know a lot of guys say, it was all in the charts, or show me the charts and I'll tell you the news. I fundamentally disagree with that. I think it's the other way around.
I
I think
strongly disagree.
yeah.
I
Okay. Well, good,
strongly
because
disagree.
I feel like we're in the minority sometimes, man. But I feel
Yeah.
like yeah. I think that especially there are certain times of the year and certain market conditions. Currently, we're in one of them where technicals take a backseat to fundamentals. And I think that yeah, you really need to adapt your trading style in order to survive when that happens. And I'm seeing so many guys at the moment, like big accounts, accounts that I know have been really profitable in the past, really struggled the last few months, and it's mostly because of that paradigm shift where there's been so much news and so much kind of like janky, scammy, whatever price action, whatever you want to call it, because of I mean, it's mostly because of Trump. We had the tariff situation, we had Israel, Iran. There's an ongoing situation in Ukraine, Russia. Trump announcing Bitcoin Reserve, and then the Bitcoin Reserve turns out to be kind of dog shit, saying that there's going to be, various legislation, enacted, and that also not really turning out the way that people thought it would. So I mean, there's been a lot of headline risk recently in the market. I'm wondering how you're navigating that.
I think first of all, it's the more you grow and the more you gain experience, and you get like quicker to adapt to market conditions. And as you mentioned, since we can say since November, but most likely since January, this is when everyone got caught off guard with Trump taking over the Oval Office. We thought it would be extremely bullish, and in fact, the market kept dumping after he took over. And we also noticed, and I hope like everyone noticed, the market is really news driven. Every time like Trump is posting something, or Besant, so Besant is like the genius in terms of economy, of USA economy, and is the one taking care of all the things related to yields and stuff, the bonds, etc. So every time they oh, thank you. Thank you.
That was excess, I think.
Okay, no problem. So I think, yeah, you'll notice every time these guys are saying something, then the market moves one way or another. Also, we had a lot of news, especially recently with the Middle East conflict between Iran and Israel. We also, yesterday, the tariff letter, and the market instantly moved. So yeah, the market is news driven. So you want to, it's difficult, it's very difficult, but you want to analyze the global picture and to have like to draw a conclusion. And this is what I tried to explain. Obviously, I could talk for hours explaining everything, but it's not the point here. But it will be also one of my goals here at Chroma. But you have to analyze the global picture, draw a conclusion, and this is what I'm doing. So first of all, regarding what you said, all the headlines and stuff. So you have to be aware of everything that is going on. You have to know about the economic figures coming out, etc., and how and why they do impact the market, and then you can anticipate. Like you cannot read the futures. This is why I said I strongly disagree with the people saying, "Oh, everything is on the chart." Like if you can read the future looking at TradingView, you wouldn't be here. But you have to understand how everything impacts the market. Obviously, I'm talking about CPI, so inflation reports, PCE, also the Federal Reserve stance, and then because now we are in a trade war, a global trade war, so you have to understand how different economies are interconnected. I've been talking a lot about Japan. So if you guys have been around last year in 2023, you saw how it had an impact, and everyone nobody cares about Japan usually. And then when we had the carry trade and wind, like everyone was like, what the hell just happened? You remember how the market tanked? It was absolutely crazy. And when I said it helps to anticipate what's coming in the short-term future, I don't want to say like you can read the future, but short-term you can anticipate and have like different scenarios. Like I said, what's going to happen at the end of the month if Japan increase the rates? Then obviously it will be bad for the carry traders, and they will be forced to sell positions. What positions? US equities. If they dump US equities, what happens? S&P will dump, and most of the time, like crypto and indices are correlated. So ultimately, crypto will drop as well. So this is how I try to navigate. It takes a lot of time, obviously, because it requires a lot of work. You have to be a financial nerd, I would say. But this is also why you guys are all here to teach and to learn these things. And I think it will be quite interesting to see what's going to happen until September, October, with the potentially the end of the trade war, and then the end of the war between Trump and Powell, if Powell agrees to cut rates in September, obviously. Otherwise, then we might have another episode.
Yeah, 100%. And that's a big if. I think a lot of people
That's
are
a big if.
assuming that it's definitely going to happen. The Fed is independent from the Oval Office, and it doesn't really matter how much pressure Trump puts on Powell. He is very much independent, and I don't think that he puts much weight into the things that Trump tweets or posts on Truth Social, despite what his supporters might say. Thanks a million for that, Osbra. That's really insightful. Moving on, Jay, I see you in the chat. Do you have any hot takes on BTC, or want to offer anything, or I want to move on to Ethereum, which I think is a really clean chart. This is something that I shared last week with you guys, how I thought that ETH was one of the cleanest charts in crypto, just based on the things that I like to trade, which are ranges. However, I also warned that we were approaching this like very high time frame POC. It's not only is it this range POC, but it's also the year to date POC. Effectively, just an area where there's been lots of volume traded since January 1st. Just a lot of traders willing to get involved here at this 2.5K, call it 2.52K level. And how we could probably expect a lot of chop here. My view on that hasn't really changed. I think ETH, even though it's a better high time frame prospect than BTC, I do think that we're at a place where you don't really want to be taking a directional trade here on ETH. If there is a directional trade on ETH, I think it is trend continuation, looking for this liquidity and potentially even higher, especially when you look at the slightly higher time frame chart. Do I have it open? Yeah, which is this. So I drew this chart a few weeks ago saying that I was looking for this retest. Of course, I didn't long it because the wick down happened while I was asleep, as it always does, as these things always do. But I like ETH here. I think, trading at range lows here. I mean, say what you want about ETH BTC, Ethereum this cycle, but just from a technical POV, we're trading at the place where you should be looking for longs rather than looking for shorts, but of course everything follows BTC. For ETH here, I know some guys last stream mentioned they were looking for lower. I know Tim said that he was looking for a run on this low, maybe something like this. I'd be very curious to hear whether any of our analysts still have that view, or whether guys are now thinking that ETH maybe just continues to chat higher. Me personally, I'm looking at just trading this range here. We got a very, very shallow retest of this daily FVG after sweeping these lows, if you guys can even see that. But for me, I still think that price could come down to retest this kind of like, call it a demand zone here at the bottom of the range. I think if we got a run of these lows, if BTC pulled back to one of those logical levels like we kind of discussed, if it pulled back here to 104k or even slightly higher, maybe 107k, I think ETH will give a dip that a lot of guys have been looking for, either something like this or something lower, which is where I would be really, really looking to get involved. I think in most scenarios this low doesn't get taken, but be curious to know whether anyone has any dissenting opinions on that. Did I just hear you speak there, Perdu? Oh yeah, I see you're sharing your screen. Perfect.
Yeah, for me, I think, yeah, as you can see, it's wow. Look at this, man. If you only look at this PA, this is so ugly, right? All these wicks. Anyway, if we go back to my regular chart, I think for now, let me clean it up for a bit. I don't want to go to the weekly. I only wanted to visualize it on the weekly to see where the weekly EMA 13 is at, and that has been providing great support so far. So for me to be really bullish again on ETH, I think we need to grab all these lows into, I think something like this would make the most sense for me. Like bounce here to fill this whole impulsive move. Was this news based? This impulsive move? Does someone know? I don't think so, huh? It was just an impulsive move on a.
I know
The
it
news was that-
Oh, sorry. Go on.
I was just gonna say the news was that ETH BTC was like bottomed out.
Yeah.
You also had the Ethereum update, I think.
Oh yeah, the hard fork, the fork, right?
Yeah,
Something like that.
It was
yeah.
Petra or something, I guess.
Yeah, Petra.
I don't remember exactly. Petra, yeah.
So I think two trades to take for me on the long side is that we first fill this inefficient move of last week Wednesday into here. I think that's a really good long back to June open, because I think we stay range bound. Then we deviate June open again into here, and then the best case scenario I think is a wick into the weekly EMA 13 into, let's say, 2380. I'm gonna save this one and then I'm gonna look back next week. This is probably how it's gonna look like in my opinion. So this is a good long, scalp long here, 2440, something like that, with your stop loss below this wick, because this buyer shouldn't get tested. So that's gonna be a back to June open, maybe deviate June open a bit, 2540, something like that. That's a 6.8 R trade. It's pretty nice. And then the second option would be, I think this holds over here. I think this holds. This impulsive move sticks. So let's say this is your second. I'm gonna put this in the tracker, to be honest. This back to at least the range low. Oh, that's already 8R. That's pretty good. I think this is how you play the range. And I'm usually not a great range trader, but this actually looks pretty clean to work with. So yeah, that's it for me on ETH, to be honest. Set some alerts here, 24. Because always these move always get tested, to be honest. So I wouldn't be surprised to see that get taken out over the next few days. And that's a really good long opportunity. Always where a move starts, that first test is always it gives always a mechanical bounce, because here we stayed range bound, manipulated the move lower, and then we started trending up again. So I think once it gets tested again at 2450, 2440, I think that's a really good long to take. So two options here. Let me screenshot that.
Yeah, man, consolidation leads to expansion. It's basically what I posted about in my alpha channel a few days ago. It's basically just supply and demand. You're looking for a retest of that demand zone, the one that led to the big expansion up.
Yeah. I
That's
think this is a
awesome.
really good one, because we have been range bound, so you have to treat it as a range, and probably max panic will start again here, that we're gonna break down the range, just like we saw over here that we're gonna break out. But for now, you just have to treat it as a range, and range-bound PA can lead to good opportunities. But don't get your hopes too high. Just take profit at the June open or a small deviation of the June open. So yeah, I think that's
What do
it.
you think? What do you think? This cycle, a new all-time high on Ethereum or no?
What is this cycle? What's the definition of this cycle?
Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, maybe cycles are out the window for the foreseeable future. Let's say,
Yeah.
let's say
Early-
this year or next year. Let's say the next 18
I think
months.
early next year.
You think?
Probably March, April next year.
Okay.
Yeah.
You heard it here first, boys. And if that doesn't happen, refunds are on Purdue. That's
fine.
that's the Purdue guarantee.
Yeah.
Jonesy, I saw you post a chart with a lovely harmonic on it. Do you want to talk us through that? I'm gonna guess that it's. This is a complete guess. Is that
That's
a
low.
Gartley?
No, it's a shark. Gartley goes to the 786, and it also would have a lower
Shark,
C than A, but it was a good try.
course it's-
I tried to color code it blue
Obviously,
for shark.
obviously,
Is the C.
obviously, it was the shark.
So, all right. Yeah, I mean, I've kind of talked about this scenario for a bit. I tried some shorts going into this week, which obviously kind of ramped up. We're building up lows here above monthly open. I'd really like to see a sweep of like what was, I guess, the Sunday high, and then potentially come down, maybe leave equal highs. For me, the line in the sand for if you're kind of bullish or bearish would be 26.45. I think if you can clear that level, as we've seen time and time again, it typically will consolidate above there between probably like 28.50 and that level. But if it can hold above there, there's a good chance it runs up to that weekly fair value gap and or 3.5K as we've seen in previous cycles. So that for me, like if you can flip that level of strength, like that's super bullish. I would be targeting the weekly fair value gap at 3K, and then you can look for higher. The more likely scenario, especially if we're seeing like a pullback on BTC and potentially alts going into the rest of the summer, would be to eventually like come up here, build up more liquidity, then kind of drop down in a harsh move, reject monthly open, and eventually continue down for one more dip below the 2K level. Could be like a quick capitulation wick, doesn't have to stay down there long. And then from there, I think you could definitely strategize longs around 1958, 2048 on like reclaims of those levels. Would also probably set up for like a higher time frame, like 1, 2, 3 drive scenario. So for me, I think like if we just continue grinding up here and you pop through 26.45, then I got to be bullish there until you lose that level. But otherwise, I like this scenario. Also, just clicking at ETH BTC, I know this is like kind of like a curse chart. We had this massive bad harmonic back from 2019 till now, so 6 years in the making. You did get somewhat of a reaction earlier in May and April, and now we have a weekly BPR below. We've kind of touched down into, but you didn't take out the EQ or anything, so I still think, and what honestly it looks like it's setting up for, one of my favorite two trading patterns is this would be a falling 3 method, is where you have a big bearish candle, 3 bullish inside candles, but you can have wicks above the candle open, but you don't close above it. And then the 5th candle, so next week's candle, we would drop back down and clear out all that. So yeah, I think if it does make sense that like ETH's going to pull back, BTC kind of takes a drop down to 104. I think if ETH BTC starts losing steam, this will probably fall a little bit quicker. We'll see that move to sub 2K. This can kind of come down here, and I think that's when you can start being like, okay, look for swing longs to 3K and or eventually all-time high. I personally think, I mean, it's kind of tough because I don't know what the time span is going to be on this. I don't know if we're going to see candles like this where it's like in like 4 weeks you just have massive moves on ETH. That's kind of what I'm implied to see, especially if you can flip this weekly fair value gap or this old weekly fair value gap back into support. And then from there, obviously, you have a bunch of liquidity targets above on ETH BTC. That's when I think the real strength will come in. But I think like in terms of the midterm kind of targets, if we do come down to that 2K level, the first key one would be like the 3K weekly fair value gap, then probably the ice line at 3,400, and then I would just be targeting equal highs and all-time high. But so yeah, I could see us hitting new highs this year. I would say probably not again until like Q4. But that's my thoughts.
That's really nice. Yeah, I think that kind of is in tandem with what a lot of people are looking for. Interesting, you also basically are looking for a run on the low that I kind of implied was protected. That low there, exactly the low we put in last month. Yeah, you're saying that we're going to sweep that, retest like 2K, sub 2K again, and then kind of that'll be the springboard, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's also interesting to note we also have this M4 2K EMA kind of here that we've been dancing around the past week or so. So again, if we do see strength and like ETH just kind of chads up, then that's great. But I think it would just make sense for me, especially given like how we started the month, how PA is kind of going, that we just kind of grind up for a bit more and then eventually see a sharp move, maybe some more ranging, and then kind of like a slow bleed capitulation bounce later in July, August.
Yeah, I wonder. I suppose the last thing you would want to see if you're bullish on ETH is like, acceptance or value creation sub 2K. I think that would be pretty fucking dire for Ethereum going forward. But I like what you're saying. I actually completely agree. Even though ETH BTC is a cursed chart, I just think that at a certain point you just have to consider the or of betting on upside on a chart that's just looks so bottomed out. It's the same as like the others BTC chart that I shared earlier today. I just think at a certain point, charts tend to look pretty shit before they don't, if you know what I mean. It's like the best entries are usually pretty hairy before before they start looking good. I think there's a lot of charts now. I'm not talking about random dog shit altcoins, but a lot of charts like ETH BTC, even others BTC that they're just kind of approaching a zone now where even if it doesn't play out, it kind of makes sense from an or perspective to be at least leaning bullish or looking for bullish possible continuations.
So just I don't want to spend a lot of time talking about this, but I did quick flick on the others chart. There is a well, I was trying to make this nice, but a bullish shark harmonic that just hit the PCZ like the past week or so. It's kind of just been chilling there at the 886. Maybe maybe all season's coming sooner than later. Who knows?
Nice. Victor, I saw you joined late. Are you able to
Yeah.
talk?
Yeah. Sorry
Perfect.
for not being present.
All good.
Area with a break of structure, then retest the value area low, range between value area low and the POC for a while. Then you sweep this range lows, this mini range. Then you move past the POC because you've gathered all the strength that you need with this sweep. You stop at the value area high, and then you stop with the dump at the POC. So right now we are sandwiched between the support of the POC and the resistance of the value area high, which means that for me there are no plays to be taken here. Even if we drop below the POC, I'm not going to look for trades. The only levels where I'm interested in looking for trades is if we sweep liquidity above value area high or below value area low, which is why the only plays I see on ETH are sweeping this key high above value area high and then look for shorts or continuations as well, but mainly shorts. Or if we go to this daily fair value gap, which was missed by a few cents right here, again, look for longs right here. And it's as easy as that. Of course, we can also get a successful auction in which we break out and we take out this high, or we break down and we take out this low. But we have been in this range for 3 months now. So betting against it and betting that it's a breakout or a breakdown is the less probable play. The more probable play is to play for a reversal from value area high or value area low. That being said, those are my thoughts on ETH. And just like Polis, I have to go because I have a meeting with someone else. So I'm gonna leave the other analysts from the panel to talk about the next coins that they might be interested in. So thank you and
Sweet.
see you later. Bye bye.
Have a good meeting,
Alright.
Vic. I guess
I can get my.
you go, Jonesy.
Do you want to, Jay? If you have thoughts on ETH, you can go through. I'll just
It's
get my stream
basically
back
the
up.
same, honestly. I'd be reiterating, but I can share. I've been waiting for
go.
that 618 tap at 3K for a while. It's kind of all I'd want. I'd want this to play out between like now and September. But I don't see anything to make this big of a move happen. So just kind of sitting and waiting, same as BTC. I think there's
Honestly-
it's just choppy. Just choppy.
Yeah. I don't
Like
hate
all
coming
these
up
weeklies.
first.
We've been inside the same weekly for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 weeks.
Eesh.
It's just, and the same with Bitcoin. I mean, I didn't say it earlier, but I'm not really trading, so I kind of noticed that we've been at the same price for 12 days, lads. So, grain of salt of thinking anything about big moves. That's kind of all I say. Because everything has just been liquidity sweeps and come back to medium. It's just summer PA, range bound. We're just bouncing on POC, dig for more liquidity, probably take these highs and dig back under. I think anything above, like, expecting bigger moves than, I don't see catalysts to make his big moves right now. It has to be Trump with some news. Otherwise, we're just going to be chopping until like September. IMO. It's kind of my thoughts.
That's it for if, and I would just suggest, as usual, guys, if you're interested, maybe to scalp shorts or whatever, to have alerts at least, so you're aware if the price reach the zones, the areas of interest.
Right. I think that's totally valid. Just kind of mark out some key levels and wait for those to interact with them. So
Yeah.
what does anybody have any altcoins they're looking at, either team members or people in chat?
During I have maybe the stream, I can go quickly over Sui. It looks interesting, in my opinion. Same is going to be quick. I like the fact it reclaimed. Wait, this is irrelevant. It reclaimed that level. It was a key res here. Then we broke out and we had a massive move. Also here we saw that we tried to hold, we lost it. We tagged the demand right here. So the PA is price action is pretty clean. So we tried to flip that level, we failed, and it made the price come back and fill that FVG. So that's really cool. Then here we have some displacement, which I like, and we're trying to hold that level. So I would say it looks good until we lose that level right here, because we have some imbalance as well. So if the momentum is really here, we shouldn't go below that level, and we could have like a nice move like this. And the targets are quite easy as well. Point of control right here, obviously, and then value area high, where we had massive rejection, and also it's aligned with the supply right here. So yeah, quite clean chart, I would say. Pretty clean. We have a nice structure shift happening here in this area. So I would suggest to pay attention. I'm not saying you should go blindly long around here, because it's still risky considering what BTC is doing, and that BTC is below res. But if you want to take a shot on some altcoins, it's one of the few ones that are looking okay, in my opinion. So if anyone else would like to discuss about alt.
I'll quick add on to that, and then I'll take Hasbull's request, and then we'll see if anybody else has anything. So that was one I had a bunch of markups on. We had a shark that went to the 1.13. Really nice reaction. Took out both the first two TPs. Didn't quite make it to the buy side liquidity, which is basically just the all-time high level on this. Or actually not all-time high. All-time high was up here. But this ice line, which was the high back in January 2025. Since then, we had a daily BPR. I think I did a markup 2-3 weeks ago where I was looking for a rejection from that. Pretty much went directly according to plan. Traded down to the ice line around 78 cents. Didn't quite tap it as we did raid the PCZ level, which provided a reaction. I was kind of hoping for a little bit lower into the daily and weekly fair value gap below to kind of take out this low. So I think I'm still looking for that as my target on this one. It's just like going to take a bit more time. Probably expect some chop. You're in this kind of like weekly inversion fair value gap. I don't even know if I would count anymore just because of how much we've been trading in it. Basically just a big range. But yeah, as long you could potentially, if BTC I guess starts to run here, see it bounce up to fill some of these H4 imbalances. Maybe you even get a little deviation of the ice line to clean up these equal highs before going lower. But otherwise, yeah, I'm expecting bearish PA down to here. I think once you get in between this 57 to 78 cent zone, where you have a daily fair value gap, weekly fair value gap stacked on top of each other, neither have been filled by any means. That's kind of the level, if you're looking to play continuation, you want to see price move up from. All right. Anybody else have charts on this one or other ones? I see some people talking about CRV, hype, Purdue. Any of you other guys have thoughts on any of those ones? Purdue might have bounced. I don't know if he had to go. I can quick take a look. I saw Osbro posted his chart on
Yeah,
CRV.
I can just explain.
Yeah, go ahead.
Quickly. So yeah, I think we go slightly lower. We started to grind lower, like you said in the voice chat. This is absolutely correct. I think we continue to grind a little bit lower. This is definitely one of the alts I would refuse too long here, because yeah, the price action has been so annoying, and it's just like stressful to be in such a position. It just doesn't know what to do. And here also we have a nice level that led to a break of structure right here. We took that high, and then we started to trend higher from this. So this is the point of interest for CRV, in my opinion. We might have this as well, but I think it makes more sense to use that bullish order block right here. And then the targets would be quite logical. We would have the value area low here, maybe the POC, it's your choice. I wouldn't have two TPs. I would just choose one or the other. And then you have the value area high here, and then you have that level here. That looks clean for an exit. Why? Simply because here you had rejection, then a sweep. We didn't have a retest yet, so we might have retest and then go back down. So yeah, I would try a long here, depending on the reaction, and then potentially would try a short here once again, depending on the reaction. I can quickly show hype. So Nat, you've been asking about hype. I don't really like how it looks here. We're losing the point of control. And we see that we have nice wicks here, so we could take the lows right here, or retest at the very least, the demand just here at $30 psychological level. And if that level doesn't hold, then obviously I'm going to be watching this area. We have a nice order block. We also have the value area low, so this is enough confluence. We can try to pull the fibs as well from the swing low here to the swing high. And we have, yeah, the golden pocket here. So maybe we could have like a stop loss just below. That would mean below the lows here. So that would be a nice swing with a long around 25, targeting 46, maybe even 50 psychological level. Well, I don't like round numbers, so it would be slightly below, something like 25, something like this, maybe. Yeah, and have a nice swing long with obviously several TPs on the way up. The previous level here, the previous support would be a TP, point of control would be a TP, and then it's up to you, would be the value area high or the 50 psychological level. So that's it for hype on my end. Oh, you like the value area low? Nice. Okay. So if you like it, then you know what to do. Alerts, limit orders, everything.
It's just like not the
Not-
conditions for it.
He's asking for XRP.
XRP? Yeah, we can take a look.
XRP will knock the market.
Oh,
It will happen
XRP
again.
was.
Bullish on that
mean,
one, man.
Yeah. This one's a bit cleaner for me, at least. You have all these equal highs now. He's still building up. So I think at this point, if we're going to see continuation a little bit higher on PTC and stuff before pulling back, take that out. Then the level you really need to lose is 218. That's like a strong support resistance level for bulls and bears. Just look back. Anytime we've kind of had like wicks down to the bottom or a little below, but really that's kind of the key level in 197. to watch for. So I want to see lower, take out this low, similar to ETH, right? Kind of cleanse all the people maybe who caught this move, who were like, oh, I got the bottom, we're going to new all-time highs. And then run it back turbo in like August going into Q4. But yeah, it's just kind of a lot of rangy, choppy PA. I think this is still your high time frame draw higher. Once that's taken out, unless you start seeing, I would say, like closures above, I'm sure there's like a little H4 for value gap here around 240. If you can reclaim that, then maybe it pushes higher. But I think given the structure and what we've kind of talked about with some of the more major ones like BTC and ETH, it just makes sense to see it eventually come back down to take out some stuff lower. Osprey or Jay, do you have any different thoughts on
Yeah, it's fun because we use different strategies, but yeah, I do agree. We have 218 as an important level. Obviously, we have nice cluster right here, so you can see this is a contested area. No wonder why we have the point of control right here around 218. This is the plan that I'm following, so I'm still in the long open around here. It was quite clean. We had a support level here. Nice sweep. I was expecting a little bit lower, to be honest. I'm quite surprised, and this is also why I'm a bit scared, because we didn't completely feel that imbalance. But the displacement here and the retest was quite clean, so it was worth a shot, in my opinion. Also, XRP has the narrative, with the bank license in the USA, following Circle Step. And then I have like a theory that might also apply for NASDAQ stuff. And then even though it has absolutely nothing to do with the token, you know how the crypto industry works. And if Ripple has a stock, then XRP will ultimately like pump because people will think that it's going to be XRP introduced to NASDAQ, So we might have some sort of a ridiculous pump for like a short while. But however, I'm just targeting this high, and then I might take 75% of the position, and I might not really care about what's happening after that. I just want to exit a big chunk around 240, 245, maybe if we sweep. I don't have a set TP, just alerts around that level.
Nice. Yeah, I think the value area high is a great like target. And then from there, if you can flip it, then you can talk about like a successful auction to new highs. But that's going to be the big trouble area.
Yeah, exactly. And if you're like, maybe this is something that could happen, retest of that supply, if the theory unfolds and we have like bullish Ripple news about NASDAQ or the bank license or whatever, we can have like some strong push towards $3. I'm not really expecting much more from XRP, to be honest, but yeah, for the short term, let's say leaning bullish.
Yeah, we'll range for another 10 years.
Yeah.
All right, we're gonna finish up with
bullish on CRV. Actually, looks good.
CRV, really?
Yeah.
Did you want to share a chart for it, or?
Sure, but it's very high time frame, I guess. Oh, go back. I don't know. I discussed this exact setup on January, and I don't know. I still like it. It's not invalidated, so. Also, I didn't even know about those fundamental news in CRV. I think normies and stocks bring a lot. I think it could pull something. Also, the compression here is weird. This is, normally when you see this, for me, we take liquidity somewhere. I don't know if this or takes the whole thing. Then just fakes it out with some bullshit news and flies. And we have a CRV season. I don't know why. It's one of the only charts I actually like. Because we're just on such important levels, do or die levels kind of thing.
I agree with you, Jay. I think it's due for some upside. I think you'll definitely get close to $2.
Yeah, I have 158. So.
Yeah, I think you'll definitely get that. Clear up the highs here.
Yeah.
But I think above 250 is when it gets kind of iffy. Maybe we see some craziness and it does new all-time highs.
Would be more fundamental linked, I think, to get that.
Gotcha. For sure.
I think technically it's very reasonable to see 1.5 if you have any kind of run. Above there, 1/8, 2s, it's questionable.
All right.
Market's just not liquid enough.
Mm-hmm. we're gonna wrap up with Aave. Was it? I think someone requested it. For me, Aave honestly looks. It reminds me of like AVAX from what cycle? Was it like two cycles ago when we had the kind of massive cup and, or I guess it was kind of like a cup and handle here, and then it just blasted off, and you went like ridiculous. It's giving that kind of like building up a big rounding bottom vibe with like your relative kind of equal esque highs here. You also had a Gartley into a monthly fair value gap that turned into a big expansive move, leaving behind a bat into another monthly fair value gap right at the PCZ. Right, this is what the makings of greatness are in terms of like my style of high time frame trading with harmonics. But since then, like you flipped a weekly inversion, fair value gap into support, took out highs here. You can see you blasted from this ice line up to here. That one, I think I had like a little it was probably H4, H1 fair value gap when I was doing a markup 1 week, looking for continuation from there. But you can see it just moves really nicely to the next one. Took a bit to kind of whipsaw and then eventually reclaim. So now you're like butting up at resistance at 289.43 for me. I think if you flip it, there's a good chance it runs to 392 and takes out like all the highs up here. I would just be cautious because you do have equal lows down here. You have a giant daily fair value gap. And given, again, what we've talked about in other alts, I wouldn't be surprised to see a correction before we see like the big altcoin pump going into the rest of the year. And again, yeah, that would be like 40% downside. So if you're looking to trade here, wait for like confirmation above this level, similar to what we saw, like kind of when we flipped here and you saw it like retest. So wait for something like that to either play towards local high or potentially even higher up here. But I think if you start losing 264 as support, it's a very good chance we're coming down to sub 200 again. And that's it for me on Aave. If anybody else has thoughts before we finish up.
Yeah, I can share as well because I am in a position on Aave. I think it looks okay, and it's exactly the level that you mentioned, 260. So yeah, 260, 264, same. Point of control is right at 264. So that's my first entry. I had another, like a plan B in case it didn't work. Obviously, that demand here that got swept. I like also that one because it led to a break of structure, which is always a good confidence and good confirmation for me. And I'm just keeping it simple and eyeing for whatever it's a bearish retest or like whatever of that level, 320. I would like to take a chunk at 300. We were very close, 293. I'd like to take some off at 300 and then exit the position at 320. Wait, sorry. Just have to go back to Aave. Yeah, good. So the other long opportunity would look like this, right? So that's the same basically, just with different entry and different stop loss, but the same. That would be the same target. And then for after, then don't really have a plan. It's we'll see if we get something like this, taking the liquidity above, closing inside the value area, and then might take a short to either retest this or to fill the gap that we left behind here down to 230, 235 something. Maybe if we have like bearish headlines, black swan / whatever, could target this with the short. But for now, I'm just leaning bullish on that one. Also, with the tokenization stuff happening, Aave technically will be one of the angular stone of what's going to be possible. I mean, the tokenization of stocks, equities, etc. Because obviously a lot of stuff is going to happen through Aave, like lending, etc., etc.
Aave
Awesome.
do be a crazy chart.
Yeah, and honestly, it didn't look bad, but sweet. So we're gonna wrap up this week's roundtable here. as always, if you guys have questions, feel free to tag us in mentorship or just ping us in crypto chat. And yeah, we'll catch you later. Enjoy the rest of your day. Goodbye.